Hello YouTube, I'm Jason, I'm an alchemist, and I've had a huge breakthrough today. I want to talk, this is Ground of Roots Healing, by the way. I want to talk about how there has never been, the 3D matrix is perfect. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the 3D matrix. It just made so much sense to me. And I need to explain why, because a lot of people are going to be probably triggered by that. They might get a little bit angry. And I understand. So you'll have to watch the video so I can explain it. Now, I'm an alchemist, and as an alchemist, I offer alchemy services. You can go in the description below and book a session with me, or you can go over to my second channel, also booked below, which is called Dragon's Fire Alchemy, or you can sign up to my Patreon, where I post daily. Now, why is the 3D Matrix good, and what happened? How did I get here? Oh, wow. So I did a video, I don't know, yesterday. It's kind of been building up. I've been formulating this idea about how the schoolhouse earth works. And as always happens, as I formulate these ideas, I conceptually figure out how it works, download the idea, and then I get shown how it actually functionally works down here on schoolhouse earth. So the information comes to me, and then I get the lesson, essentially. So this is a schoolhouse. It's a schoolhouse for God, souls. This is how it works. The 3D matrix is the school. In order to go through the school, you must remain asleep, or else you would not go through the school. And the school is a school of separation. So the divine, your soul, these are avatars, these bodies, which are part of the planet and part of the school, Earth. It's a construct of God. And it requires us to be in a state of amnesia in order to go through the school. If you weren't, you wouldn't do it, and it wouldn't work. Because on the other side, let's say, when you're reintegrated with your soul and you have all of the knowings, you understand that there is no separation. So your soul inhabits this body. Now, when I say your soul, I say it's a fractal of God often. What does that mean? God is here at the top. And God splits and bifurcates into masculine and feminine, and then different varieties of souls until you get down to the bottom, let's say, the lower frequencies of the upper astral. From the very tippy top, you have oneness, complete oneness. And then there's a continuation. This doesn't stop. It always goes down and bifurcates. Now, your soul is a bifurcation of the whole. It's like a drop of water in the ocean. Now, in order to think of this properly, where you are God, and understand this correctly, you have to understand that the drop of the water is not separate from the ocean. When you place it back in the ocean, it is the ocean. It is completely connected with every other drop of water. So you have to think of your soul, as part of this entire system. So when you look at it as the whole inhabiting this body, and then you start to understand how you are God. Now, you inhabit these bodies. Okay, so you come down here to learn lessons because there is no separation on the other side. So you come here to learn the lessons. And these are difficult lessons. It's lessons in something that doesn't exist in reality. This is difficult. So you come to the schoolhouse. You start your degree. You are completely asleep. And at some point, you've learned all you can about that particular subject that you came down here to learn. In my case, depression and separation. Now, the biggest part of my lesson plan I was going to say it was loneliness, but like I minored in mommy issues. I know this people might find this frustrating that I find this amusing now. But trust me, when you get to the other side and you understand how this works, you don't take any of this seriously anymore. So this school, it has what we call the 3D dark matrix. This is the structure of the school. This is the asleep part of this. And in this structure, everything kind of sucks. And it kind of sucks because we need to stay separate, we need to stay asleep, and we need to stay in these situations where we learn these lessons. So I had to learn loneliness. Well, that means that everything in my life was structured around loneliness. And the only way to do that is to be separate and to be in this 3D system. So the 3D system is a fabrication of the Almighty. It absolutely is. Now, there are very, very bad things that happen in this 3D matrix. And it's hard to understand. This might piss a lot of people off. If you aren't where I'm at, it may. And that's okay. I understand. I understand your complaints. I was there at one point. I was very angry at people in my life for having things done to me. But when you start to realize that they may just be a construct of the matrix in order to enact depraved, terrible things on us souls so that we understand that level of suffering. From that aspect, the higher soul gets it now. So in that way, it is perfect. It's the perfect schoolhouse for learning separation. That's how it's perfect. Now, everyone's story down here, everyone's degree in whatever lesson you're learning is tied in with someone else's. You're in this with a soul group. And in my case, I had major issues with women in my life. And today in Canada happens to be Mother's Day. So what better day than to find resolution for this, an understanding of why things went that way for me, why I've had so much trouble connecting with women, and why my mother did the things she did. And I've had a lot of trouble forgiving her for it. And now I get it. She was essentially forced to act in certain ways to keep my lesson plan on pace. A lot of the time, she wouldn't even have been aware of what she was doing. Her conditioning from the life that she had, which was much harder than mine, by the way, was perfectly, intricately intertwined with mine so that my lesson plan would continue. And the lesson she learned, she didn't even get to enlightenment down here before she had to leave. She left at 61 years old. She had a miserable life. She suffered greatly. And did me a massive favor. And this is how you get to the point where you you forgive everyone for everything. When you realize that her story was written way before she came, and that it was much harder than mine, and that it took a braver soul to live that life than it did to live my life. I'm waking up. Yes, it's almost at 50 years old, but I still have time. I still have time to live down here outside of this crazy school. I get to graduate here. There's countless people and lives that they never get there while they're alive on this planet. It's a school, guys. So, her soul, which is my soul, is bifurcated up higher somewhere. So it's not the same soul. But we've been intertwined for a long time. We've lived lives together. I have memories of a life where she was my father. And it was a very hard life and a very hard lesson. Much harder than this one. So that water droplet analogy is very important. This is how you are God. You are not the droplet. You're not the soul. You're the ocean. I have a person that I believe to be a twin flame that I've met recently. What does that mean? I don't like that term. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's a shared oversoul. It's a shared soul from the last bifurcation. So off the main, as it comes down into the planet, these souls are ultra powerful. They can inhabit many avatars at once. And in that instance, her lesson was different than my lesson. So this soul is down here learning loneliness in my avatar and abandonment from women, and her soul is learning something else. And I'm not going to point out what the other thing is. But whatever it is that causes you fear and angst, as if something could ever possibly go wrong in this intricate play, that is your lesson. So if you have fear of being hurt or fear of others because of things that have happened to you in your life, then that can't happen to you. And all of that programming was installed so that you could understand that aspect. It's a veil. It's not real. So, just like that, on Mother's Day, no less, I understand now how to forgive my mother and every woman who hasn't been able to show me unconditional love in my life. It stops now. This doesn't have to continue. The lesson's been learned. It's time for me to graduate, and I get it. And this is enlightenment. This is when you're close. You're really close. You forgive everyone in this intricate play for every role that they've ever played, no matter how bad it is. No matter how bad. They've helped you get to the point where you can graduate. In this life, this doesn't happen very often. So if you're getting to enlightenment, so we're all asleep, and you look at the 3D matrix, most of the world is still asleep in there. Most of the beings are still inside of it, still firmly asleep, and still for learning their lessons. The matrix is still there, the agents are still there, in order to keep them on that path. But here's the thing. There is no two earths. I often looked at it this way. There isn't. It's not two earths. It's one earth. One earth with a lot of people still stuck in that matrix. There's nothing to fight against. They have to go through their lesson plans. They're in university and they're not quite finished yet. And if you understand what I'm saying, you're ready to graduate. You're there. You're close. You can see it. You'll get to the point where I am, where I've had this realization that nothing can go wrong when the time is ready, or if you find this video, and then I've performed alchemy on you. I've activated you. I've made you take that step of understanding to the point where now you're out. You're out of the 3D. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges. It doesn't mean that your body still doesn't have, body-mind complex still doesn't have stuff it needs to heal. It doesn't mean you won't drop back. What it means is you get it. You're there. This is the right path. You're walking the right direction. And there's no turning back. When you're completely asleep, and you're firmly in the 3D, in university, you can't see any of this. This will sound like gobbledygook to anyone who listens to this who hasn't started the awakening process. The awakening process is the graduation started. Look at it like your last year. You're stepping out into the real world, into 5D, out of this matrix, and it takes time. The awakening process is it's a process. It takes time. And you're stepping through the graduation process, and then eventually you're going to flip that tassel and you're done with that forever. It's time to go on to milk and honey, the land of milk and honey. My mind has literally blown tonight. I don't know how I'll sleep, but this makes so much sense now. What do I say about this? I think I'm going to leave it there. This is wild. I hope you find this. If you find this and it makes sense to you, you're well on your way. You're close. And I can't wait to see you flip that tassel over and graduate. To get that diploma in your hands. And what a celebration it is. I'm giddy with celebration myself. I know that's where I'm at. This makes so much sense now. And come join me. The water's nice. And like I said, anyone in the 3D is going to think I'm crazy anyway. So who cares? You just graduated early. You're ahead of schedule. Well, not really. There is no... everything's divinely timed, right? It's all intricately tied together. But that is how the 3D matrix is perfect and is part of God's plan, and there's nothing to change. There's no one to heal. There's no one to speed this up for. It's going to happen exactly when it's supposed to happen. Let go and ride the train and see what happens. Nothing bad can happen to you. It's all divine. So I think I'll leave it there. Like I always say, I hope this video finds you well. I love you all. I really do. Even the people who've hurt me in my life. Doesn't mean I want them around. But I get it. Thank you for playing that role in my life. And we'll see you soon.